let's pick it back up with Scott Hall, and we're starting with his arrival at WWE and becoming Razor Ramon. You're on the horn with Pat Patterson. All of a sudden, the contract's up, and so what?
So now though, there's no ceremony. Oh, come to New York. Right. So I call Curt. Hey man, can you get me a tryout? So they bring me in for a tryout, and at this point, Curt has so much stroke. He's like an announcer. He's like a liaison between the boys. He's kind of above the boys, but he's not considered off. It's a great spot. And I see, and that's been when he did the USA Primetime Wrestling, hours of cable TV, and my name's on the board, so I'm going, okay. But they send me out the very first match of the night in Lexington, Kentucky, in the Rupp Arena, and it's packed. Now, normally, I knew, because having seen it since I'd been there, when guys come in and you have a little name somewhere else, they bring you in, put you with a job guy, then beat you, just to check your attitude before we go any further. Is this guy a mark or not? Like, they'd bring in a guy who'd been around, put him with nobody, and have the guy beat him. And if you came back bitching, see ya. So they put me over to the guy, because I was expecting to do a job. I didn't know. And I went over, and when I came back, I was summoned to Vince's office. And they were erasing my name off the thing. But I've been trained by Curt, come straight back through. I know it was good. I come straight back through, go meet with Curt. The guy comes up, oh, Vince wants to see you. Curt goes in with me. So now I really feel comfortable. And this is when everything was like, Bossman was really a corrections officer, so he was a corrections officer character.
Badass gimmick.
And but see, now they all don't work out that way. He looks at me going, oh, I understand your father was a career Army officer. And I went, Vince, you want me to be G.I. Joe? I'll be the best G.I. Joe I can be. I said, did you ever see Scarface? He went, oh, no. And I went, say hello to the bad guy. And Kurt's doing it with me, and Vince is laughing. So he starts going with it. He goes, I like it. He goes, we need a name. Now I know I'm having this tryout. I know I might get to talk to Vince, so I'm preparing.
Right.
And I'm thinking, it was a different era then. Marketing was becoming a big deal, and I've had the matinee idol look. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe Shrug Shadow. I don't know. And I thought Razor.
Right.
And I remember Hawk gave me Deadbolt. We're at catering. Hawk goes, what about Deadbolt? And I remember thinking,
Hawk was creative.
I remember thinking, thanks, Hawk. I don't know if I fit the Deadbolt thing, but that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And I think Deadbolt's more of like a rough, tough guy. I'm trying to do the smoothie.
Yeah.
But so I said to Vince, what about Razor? He goes, well, there's already Razor Reddick, the boxer. Yeah. I said, I kick his monkey fucking ass, and Vince fucking popping. He laughs. He goes, let's go with it. And I went from there. I was so happy that I had to pee. So I'm in there peeing in the urinal, and Tito Santana's washing his hands. I remember went, Tito, I need a last name starts with an R. He went, Ramon. I went, boom. Vince, Razor Ramon. He goes, that's it. And that was it. And then they started bringing me to TVs just to watch.
Right.
Just hang around and watch. And then he started personally directing the vignettes, and it was like, wow, dreams come true.
So he knew this was a money gimmick. I mean, he had to.
Well, I think so. And then the way they booked me, right away they put me, and see, I've been around the business long enough to know that I'm getting pushed. Like when I got to AWA, I didn't know I was getting pushed. When I was in Japan, I didn't realize how good I was getting pushed.
Right.
And because the money wasn't really there. But, and they put me with Heenan, Perfect, and Flair in a little combo. So that was their top guys.
So you turned into Razor, and Vince is personally doing the vignettes. So what's your MO as far as getting over? Because you're there to get over, and then you're going to be working on top.
This is where I really drew on what I learned in Puerto Rico, because I went down there and I worked with Carlos Colon. This is back when they ran baseball stadiums, and the business was good. And I studied a lot of tapes on Carlos's angles. I watched what he did with Stan Hansen, what he did with Bruiser Brody. Not so much for like move stuff, but just for the whole psychology of how to work a program, how to work an angle. And Puerto Rico's a really violent society. I mean, down there when they show the news, they don't edit it out. Like if a guy was shot point blank in the head, they show it.
Right.
So the people are conditioned that way. Every town has a little cockfight arena.
Right.
Like they're violent society.
Right.
So to get over down there, you've got to be a badass. And cause although they have their ha-ha, they got their comedy stuff, but I never was attracted to that stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember, too, this is when I first started thinking about the money, because I knew Carlos was burning up opponents. When you got a babyface champion, you got to feed them heels. And they did everything old school right. They brought me in, and I beat every baby face on the way up to work with Carlos, which took a year.
Right.
And then I worked with Carlos, but now I go in doing a cowboy gimmick with the bull rope.
Right.
Like Hanson.
Right.
And so that I can challenge him to a bull rope match. You know, I'm trying to get gimmick matches out of it.
Right.
So the first time I put him over was in a bull rope match. He touched the four corners. Yeah. He never pinned me. He never bumped me.
Right.
Because I started thinking, well, I get it. I'm going to kill everybody till I get to you. Then I'm going to kill you in an angle, and then you got to buy the job back.
Right.
You got to buy the bumps. Because he would hit me, and I'd stagger back.
Right.
I did the Brody, 1 step back, 2 steps forward.
Yeah.
Then he'd hit me, I'd go to one knee. He'd hit me, I'd go to the other knee. He'd hit me, I'd go to 2 knees. But I saved the one bump for like the end.
Right.
And it was working because Carlos was happy. The stands were full, and I just took that. I don't know. I guess it just hit me at that point. I remember Dusty telling me when I started, he was laying out a match to me, and he said, "Now, baby, a lot of this ain't gonna make sense to you now, but down the road, you'd be riding down the road, and it'll click." And I feel like that's how some of this stuff happened for me. I just kind of went, "Oh, that's what they meant."
How fun was it working the angle with 1, 2, 3 Kid, your good buddy Sean Waltman?
Well, I didn't know. That was the first time I'd met him. Was that night, and I remember getting there, and we were, been on the road and beat.
Right.
And he's so excited because he's getting. And
he's a kid.
And they had brought him in, and Vince had laid the angle out to me 6 months in advance. He goes, "Well, we got to turn your baby face. The fans are turning you." And he goes, "I don't want to do the same old thing, but you run in and save somebody." So he lays out, I got this guy, I want you to, you're going to beat him. 6 weeks later, during the Nielsen ratings, you're going to sweeps, you're going to challenge him $10,000. He's not going to beat you that time, but he's going to steal the money. He's going, then I'm going to have all the other heels comment on, what a loser. And he goes, and I think SummerSlam, you work with DiBiase and beat him with your finish. 6 months in advance, that's what we did.
Right.
And I remember now I'm at TV and I'm beat. I'm laying on the floor, like sleeping. And Kid comes up, "Hey man, how you doing? Like, we're working together, we're working tonight." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll get with you later, bro." And so I go to Pat Patterson, "What do you want me to do with this guy?" And he goes, "Oh, he can do anything. He does everything. He does anything." I said, No, how do you think it should go? Because I'm thinking just treat him like a job guy, then have him beat me. And he goes, "Yeah, of course." So that's what we did. I told him, "You got one thing, bro. What do you want it to be?" And he goes, "Moonsault." So that's what we did. To the point where it worked so well because I'd known about it, but Vince also said, "Just keep it to yourself." And I learned the power of that. Like, sometimes you got to kayfabe everybody.
Right.
And so I remember Papa Shango came up to me, Godfather came up to me afterwards and went, "Man, did you fail the piss test?" And I went like, "I don't know what's going on, man. I just do what they tell me, bro." I remember.
So he thought because you did the favors, you've been punished.
Well, they just beat me. And I remember Rey Mysterio, who I met years later, said, "Man, we watched it in Mexico, and we thought like Kid's knee hit you. We thought you really, like it was a shoot. Yeah. It really beat you." And it was actually an angle to get me over.
Right.
But we liked Kid, and he is such a special guy.
Yeah.
That we both ended up getting breaks.
Damn right.
Because it was kind of like we were one and done with him, but then he was so talented, he rolled with it.
I was talking to Sean a few weeks ago, and then I was watching the $10,000 challenge match, and he goes off the top. He's going to do the gimmick. He botches, boom, on the concrete.
Eats the concrete in Poughkeepsie.
Take me through that. What were you thinking?
Okay.
I got his side of it.
The storyline was going to be, the storyline going into it was like, I'm gonna kill this guy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna murder him. So I throw him to the floor. I move the mat. I set him up. I'm gonna give him razor's edge on the concrete.
Yep.
He backdrops me on the thing.
Yep.
Now, having only worked with him one time prior, which was just a squash match, I fought myself with it because I didn't realize how good he was.
Right.
Now he's going to go to the top and dive off on me onto the floor. Now I got up quicker because I thought I wasn't sure what his time was going to be. Like, is he there? Is he not there? Like, so I started to turn, and I got up too fast, and he wasn't. He was climbing slowly. So then he tried to meet me, and he tripped and ate it on the concrete right at my feet. And I mean, he hit his head. I remember I looked at Baby Earl was right there. Earl Hebner. I looked at him, and Earl went, "Fuck it, pin him." And because they're going, we're going off the air live.
Yeah.
And this is this angle we built for. But I'm going, I can't do that. And I look at Vince, and Vince is doing the commentary, and he just looks down. Now, when I hear it back, he wasn't blowing me off. He's just continuing to do his job.
Right.
And I'm going, oh, what do I do? And I'm going in, and I'm thinking, small package meat.
Right.
Screw it. I can't beat you.
Right. But he didn't know Vince doesn't know the kid's out.
No.
Yeah.
No, and he's out. I mean, kid's out. I'm looking, and Baby Earl's already said, beat him.
Yeah.
And I'm going, what do I do? What do I do? And they're going, 1 minute. And I'm going, and I'm looking at kid, and he goes, moonsault. I mean, his eyes are rolled back in his head, and he goes, moonsault. And I'm going, just like last time, move, moonsault. I mean, really making sure, because he's not there.
Yeah.
I shoot him in, he moves, and he doesn't even look back. He gets up there and just dives back, covers me, 1, 2, I kick out, and if you watch the tape back, you can see me and Baby Earl going, get the money!
Yeah.
Because he gets up like, huh? And he's out of it.
Yeah.
And then he gets the money, and now I'm thinking, he's supposed to run, because they're going to film me through the building. So I'm going, oh, and I'm coming up behind him, and he's not running. So I'm going, you know what, I'm just going to tear his head off with a clothesline, knock him through the apron, and maybe we can get out there. And I pull back, and he must have had radar, because he went, and he took off.
The funny thing was that he happened to have a car waiting for him out there.
Oh, yeah, right. All of a sudden, and he's in his gear, and I'm in the snow, like, what?
Hey, let's talk about the ladder match with Shawn Michaels. Whose idea was that? How was that presented to you? Because this would be, and I was researching ladder matches, and they were doing a World of Sport in the 70s. But this was kind of a ladder match for the ages, and kind of was I don't know, maybe the starting point for what would turn into TLC matches and just amplify where the business is at right now with respect to the crazy, outlandish bumps. And it's spectacular, but I mean, on one hand, spectacular. On the other hand, kind of almost sets the business back. But that was an awesome match you guys put together and groundbreaking. So what was your take going into that match with Shawn? And y'all were buds going into this, right?
We were traveling together every night anyway. And now we're wrestling each other and traveling together. But I was comfortable with it because it was never a hatred angle. It was always like, I'm better than you. No, you're not. We'll prove it. I'll be the guy who looks like Elvis. See you out there.
Yeah.
You know, it was never about I hate you and
Right.
I kill you. It's like, I'm better than you.
Right.
And, but I remember, you know, they used to run 2 towns back then, and often the IC belt was on top of the B towns, which was a good spot. And Shawn and I was in California because that was Jack Lance's towns. And I remember we walked in and just said ladder match. Like, weren't consulted about it. Nobody asked us anything. And I don't think I'd ever had one. I think Shawn may have had one with Brett prior to that. I'm not sure. And we just kind of went out there and we had about 50 of them going into that. Because then once it started working, then they just kept booking it over and over and over again. I remember one time we were in some town in Jersey, and the ceiling was so low I could have jumped up and grabbed the belt.
Yeah.
But we worked on like a step ladder, we did it with an 8-foot ladder.
Yeah.
Now these guys use 20-foot ladders.
Yeah.
No, thank you. No thanks.
What do you think about when you see them these days?
Well, to me, the only reason it meant something to me, I don't understand. I mean, I understand now they had the Money in the Bank briefcase thing, and I get that. To me, the only reason it made sense was Shawn had been suspended while being the Intercontinental Champion. They had a battle royal. I went over. They made me the Intercontinental Champion, having never beat Shawn. Then Shawn came back from the suspension, still wearing the belt. So I'm wearing the belt.
Right.
And it was working. Because then we come to the ring and people go, well, who's the real champ? And it was like, well, I don't know. We're going to decide. So it seemed to make sense to me because that's what I think is so appealing about the Royal Rumble pay-per-view is you don't have to be a wrestling fan to enjoy it.
Right.
You get, who's ever last wins? Okay. And to this, it was like no rules, no ref, no time limit. Whoever gets both belts is a champ. Because to me, why would you put your belt up there? You have everything to lose, nothing to gain. But it worked out great. I actually think we had some better matches that were non-televised. Sometimes the ladder just works with you and it falls a certain way. But once you learn how to work with the gimmick, then the gimmick does all the work. I only got color a couple times in my career because I did it once in Puerto Rico with Carlos. And then I came on when HIV hit. Like when people were getting juice, I was such a young guy in the business that I was never asked.
Right.
Then when I got on top, when it would have been asked, it was like the HIV scare and no one got it.
Right.
And then later on, when people knew more about blood diseases and stuff, then it was like I was at the point where I'd go, no.
Right.
Like, no, I'm not doing it every night, or I'm not doing it.
Right.
But learn how to work the gimmick, because I remember Kev made a comment about, wow, the first time you get blood, you feel like one of the boys, you really feel like now I'm a worker.
Yeah, you're baptized.
Yeah.
The tag team, American Starship with Dan Spivey.
Now, me and Danny was the thing where they put us together and we didn't know each other. And we don't know each other that well now. We never really hung out before or since. And, I don't have anything against Danny. He's a great guy.
Right.
But we just didn't click.
What was the gimmick? I mean, American Starship, your Starship Coyote,
right.
which would years later you end up with a Wolfpack. So, I mean, there's a genesis there, but he was American Starship Eagle. What is an American Starship?
I don't know.
Sounds great. What is it?
I have no idea. That's Dusty.
Yeah.
We were going to see, now Dusty was still booked in Florida. And I often wonder, looking back, had he not left, what would have happened? Because we were going to be his road warriors.
Right.
Two big muscle heads. That's what somebody did with the Warriors, just took two guys and pushed them, and it worked. So Dusty was going to do that. Now, had we been in Florida under Dusty's thing, it would have been a whole different deal. But it didn't happen.
So you didn't really know Dan Spivey. How was it like going down the road with you guys? I mean, he's a pretty salty guy. No BS.
No,
if you mess with Spivey, he's probably going to duke you out.
Danny's a big badass, and he had a lot of success in Japan. He kind of liked that style better. He wasn't real happy with the decision to move from Charlotte. It was all me.
Right.
Begging Dusty to hook me up with Harley so I could go there. Because I wanted to be in the ring every day. Danny would rather take the 200 a night and work once a week. And I'm thinking, no, I'd rather work every night. And I was more interested in being a single wrestler anyway.
Because for me, it's always a liability factor. Down, dude, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Or you just wanted a spotlight on you.
I think I probably wanted the spotlight on me.
Right.
If I'm going to make it, no one ever breaks in to work their way to the middle. I had dreams of being a big star and being a single guy.
So somewhere along the way, you impressed Nick Bockwinkel and Larry Zbyszko, and you head up to the AWA.
I actually crossed paths with Jack Lanza in St. Louis because they used to bring guys in from the AWA, from Charlotte, and from Dallas to run big shows in St. Louis. And the opening match guys would be the Kansas City crew. We would drive in, be the opening matches, and leave. So I'm in the locker room, and Lanza looks at me and he goes, "Hey, kid, you ready to make a move?" And I said, "No, sir, I'm not ready." And he goes, "Everybody's the shits when they start." And I said, in that case, I'm ready. So he took me, and that was the beginning of my AWA run.
How long did it take you to come up with the Magnum?
Actually, at that time, I got so much heat for that. Lord James Blears. Lord James Blears was the announcer.
Yeah.
At this time, now Barry has left Charlotte, where he was getting a big babyface shove. He left because he wasn't happy with the terms. And they brought Magnum in, and they had to hotshot Magnum.
Right.
Because Barry was getting mega pushed.
Right.
And he just left. I was with him. He got his check. We were in the parking lot.
Right.
I'm riding with him. He looks at his check, and he went, pfft. And he went right inside, and he gave his notice.
Dude, that's so Barry Windham.
And then he came back out, and I said, "Fuck, I'm going to wait here. I don't want this heat, I'm going to wait out here, brother." And he went in, and he came back, and he goes, "Well, hell, he told me not to worry about 2 weeks. I'm out of here now." And he went right to Vince.
Really?
Yeah. Now, Rotundo gave us notice and went in, and they did the U.S. Express or whatever. Rotundo did what he had to do, but
Barry was, second-generation guy, hardcore business guy, to me, one of the greatest of all time. I don't like the pay, I'm out.
He's not a mark about it. He don't care about belts and stuff like that. No, this is pro wrestling.
Right.
Pro meaning get paid. Meanwhile, they're hot-shotting Magnum to try to make up for this void for Barry. So it's Magnum. And at the same time, now this Lord James Blears, we're wrestling in the Showboat Casino in Las Vegas. By the way, the big drawing card at the Showboat is they have bowling alleys.
Right.
That's kind of the place it is. Nothing against bowling. And this guy lives in Hawaii. We're in there filming Magnum PI back there then. So the guy sees Selleck around town. He comments, "Oh, he looks like that's a Magnum guy." I have no idea this is going on. This is the commentator saying. Yeah. I never said it on the interview. I never claimed that character. Right. So it's right away heat with TA.
Right.
I remember years later when I came into work trying to get a job as like Scott Hall in WCW, and Magnum was working in the office. He goes, "Yeah, we can probably give you a look. Of course, you're going to have to get your own identity." And I remember thinking, "Yes, sir." Like, whatever.
How long did you work as a singles before you tag up with Curt Hennig?
Well, when I got to Minneapolis, that's when the first time I worked for a big company that kind of knew what they were doing. And
now, how was that territory back then? Because when I got it, because TV was so regional back then, I caught the downside of the AWA.
Yeah, it was already
quite as yet, but there was the heyday years when it was.
Well, and I came in right. I remember, I'll never forget one time wrestling in Chicago at the Rosemont, and it was nearly full. Now, I've never been in front of a crowd that big. I've been wrestling in front of 50 people in bumfuck Kansas.
Right.
And I'll never forget the Freebirds were there, and I'm a huge Freebird fan. And Michael Hayes goes, "Man, we're out of here. This place is dead." And I'm thinking, whoa. And the houses were going down. They were still big houses to me.
Right.
But they were going down.
Right.
Now, they put me with Hennig because Hennig was such a great performer, and I wasn't. And they liked how I looked. So Curt would cell tag me, I'd pin the guy.
Right.
You know, that's what they were doing, and it was working. People were yelling from the aisleway, like, oh, get a new partner, Hennig's holding you down. I was going, no, he's not.
They don't understand what he's doing. Go back 15 seconds. You talked about the Freebirds, Michael Hayes, Bam Bam, Gordy, and Buddy Jack Roberts. Hall of Fame material or not?
Definitely. If it doesn't happen this year, if it doesn't happen in Dallas,
I said
my
the same
God.
thing.
I'll never forget one time, we're doing TV in Atlantic City. It's ESPN, so this is national exposure for me. These guys don't care who this big muscle. A lot of the guys are, this guy's getting a push, he can't do anything. A lot of that going on. It's not my fault.
Right.
But I'm happy about it.
Yeah.
But the birds aren't marks. They don't care. Their job is to make the kid look good. Okay. It was a 6-man, me, Slaughter, and Hennig against the birds.
Yeah.
So I'm in with Buddy. He goes, block the slam me.
Right.
Because I don't know anything.
Right.
And I get him
Still.
here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And as I'm here, he goes, watch for Michael. Because if he didn't say that, I wouldn't have known. Because I'd have been standing there filling space, and Michael's been like running in place, waiting, slam me. So I slammed him, boom. He came fed right in, boom. Now, and I'm here, he goes, watch for Terry. Boom. Here comes Terry. Boom. Now, I mean, back in the day, 3 slams in a row.
On the Freebirds?
Boom.
Yeah.
I'm marked out now thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I'm firing and stuff, and Curt's on the apron going, Scott. And I look around and he goes, tag Sarge. Sarge had gotten down off the apron and was sitting in the front row.
Really?
Like, you guys don't need me. And that's when I started learning, like, okay, not everybody's
with the program.
A lot of guys are cheering and going,
right.
I mean, it opened my eyes, like, oh, okay. I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, Sarge feels like we're competing for the thing. I'm thinking, no, man, you're here.
I mean, but dude, they came in, shined you up, and boom, he takes a powder, and he's sulking over there. Right. So, dude, how was it when all of a sudden you got a guy midway up? He said, "Watch for Michael, watch for Bam Bam." I mean, that had to be like light bulb going off, and like, you're about to have an orgasm.
Now I get to the point where I'm working with guys going, well, then is he going to feed?
Right.
You know, now you start expecting it. Vince doesn't allow that anymore.
Really?
That's what somebody told me, that if you watch tag matches now, you know how back in the day guys would feed, but bang.
Yeah.
I heard they can't do that anymore.
Oh, dude. And see, that's one of the big things. I was trying to talk with Edge and Christian about some of the nuances that are lost in today's tag team scene. And, not to rehash the entire conversation, but, cutting off the ring, using those tag ropes to choke somebody. You can't choke somebody anymore because it's not PC or just, everything that's happened in the past. But, dude, the whole thing, blind tag, false tag, turning that referee, getting some heat, using the top.
I remember when Shawn Michaels first broke up from the Rockers, and then Marty went on his way. So Shawn's a single wrestler as a heel by himself. And I'm traveling with him every day.
Right.
And, I've known him since Kansas City. And we got heat with everybody because we're getting pushed, and we don't care. I'd rather get along with everybody, but I really don't care. And so we're riding up and down the road, and I go, Shawn, can I ask you something, man? And I said, you're one of the best technical wrestlers out there. And now because you're heel, you just kick and punch? I said, no, man, it's your personality that makes you heel, not your moves. Like Nick Bockwinkel was a wrestling heel.
Right.
He would always wrestle, then he'd just use the ropes a little bit to gain the advantage. He'd go back and you go, you son of a...
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff I like. I remember me and Kev, when we were teaming as the Outsiders, we would always do false tag. And we would always cheat because we were popular. And we were acting like babyface.
Right.
But we cheated.
Yeah.
But, we were over because we were off Vince's TV. It was a weird time.
Yeah.
And you went through it with the whole, you were anti-babyface.
Shawn say when you told him, hey, so now you're a heel,
I went, no.
Did he go, oh, eyes open?
Yeah. And it was, I remember then I had to work against Shawn. They booked Razor versus Shawn in the Garden, and we're both heels. And I'm thinking, well, they're going to be with Shawn. He's like young pretty boy. And he's going, well, I'm not sure, but if they go with you, just act surprised. Like if they start to go Razor, he goes, because we were never going to the people.
Right.
I didn't like that. But if
hardly anybody did back then.
But you do I think it's way better.
Yeah.
Then they're watching you. We work them. But they came with me big, and it was like I act like But and then before the match he went, well, how am I going to get you to sell? Because he came from that era when he's working with Warlord. Marty drop kicks him, Shawn drop kicks him. Double drop kick, he goes, And I said, punch me. And it was like all new to him, like, oh, God, somebody will sell for me.
Yeah,
and he's so stiff that you don't have much choice anyway. But
you mentioned the Rosemount Horizon. I was on a podcast talking with Edge and Christian, their favorite building to perform in, mine too, because of the acoustics of that building and how crazy that crowd is. The Garden is special. Your favorite building to work in?
Wow.
Everybody's got one.
You know, I don't know. The Rosemont's there. I would think the Garden. I had some special matches there. The last time I was in the Garden was a celebration they did for Hulk, but prior to that was the curtain call. So that place has always been special to me. I still wish that, gosh, I can't think of the recording artist's name now, but she sings that song, Give Me One Reason to Stay Here.
Right.
And I'll turn right back around. I mean, that's what I wanted to walk to the ring to. I didn't want to leave there. I didn't want to leave. But I'll say this for Vince, he never sold. I mean, the buildings were sold out.
Right.
Kev's on top, I'm semi-main, and he's not selling.
I want to come to that here in just a little bit, because that was a big part of my career. And a big part for the turning point of the business and guaranteed money.
Geico asks, how would you love a chance to save some money on insurance? Of course you would. And when it comes to great rates on insurance, Geico can help. Like with insurance for your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, and RV. Even help with homeowners or renters coverage. Plus, add an easy-to-use mobile app, available 24-hour roadside assistance, and more. And Geico is an easy choice. Switch today and see all the ways you could save. It's simple. Go to geico.com or contact your local agent today.
And working with Curt Hennig, what did you learn from that guy? One of the smartest cats in the business and one of the greatest workers of all time.
I agree. And I'm so amazed by Curt and influenced by him, because
he took me, when I first showed up in WWF, he took me into the production truck to meet Kevin Dunn. And that dude, so I know.
He smartened me up about that. He taught me early on, always babyface the crew.
Right.
You know, always babyface the crew guys.
Right.
Because then it gets to the point where I'm doing something, and I'll take the guy and I go, hey, is there any place I could stand there where you guys could shoot me better? And the guy goes, actually, if you move up a couple feet here and there and stuff like that. But Curt was so unselfish, because this is before guaranteed money. So as far as he knows, we're competing for the same job, top babyface. But he does all the work in the matches.
Right.
He always started the match because he said, no, we're going to get a pop just for you coming in. Now you want the big guy. Like, I always started again with Kev.
Yeah.
It's like, no, now you're going to get it.
Yeah.
And he did all those things. He always soul tagged me. He was never a mark about that. And he got off on smartening people up.
Right.
You know, I mean, I remember he told me early on he would always grab the young guys and put them in the car. And always babyface them, have them ride with him, stuff like that. And then he'd go, be nice to everybody. Never know who they turn out to be. He always had an angle on it.
Right.
But he was always, and you got to remember now, Shawn Michaels crossed paths with Curt then in AWA. And I think Curt influenced Shawn. It all came about, I think, like, if it's your night, like if you're going over, then you're going over, bro. It's not going to be, oh, I barely kick out. You're beating me, you're beating me.
Right.
Like, you're going to make a hell of a comeback, then beat me. Like, let's don't just, you know, I never understood guys who kick out on 3. Like, oh, I almost didn't lose.
Right.
I never got that.
So you end up AWA for what, 4 or 5 years? 3 or 4?
Yeah, 3 maybe.
Cup of coffee in Puerto Rico.